Ever pondered why identity and access services are crucial in the realm of cybersecurity? In this hyper-connected era, cybersecurity has emerged as an indispensable safeguard for our digital lives. It's more than just a buzzword, it's a critical line of defense in a world where our most personal data live online. As we navigate this digital landscape, one concept stands out as a key player, often overlooked but of paramount importance. That's identity and access services. This might sound like a complex jargon, but in essence, it's about who gets to access what in the digital universe. Think of it as the gatekeeper, the bouncer at the entrance of a club, ensuring only the right people get in. In the grand scheme of cybersecurity, understanding identity and access services is like knowing the rules of the game. And without these rules, without a solid understanding of identity and access services, we can't begin to fortify our digital world. Now dive into the heart of the matter. What exactly are identity and access services? To put it simply, identity and access services are the digital doormen of our cyber world. They are the systems in place that verify who you are and determine what you can access within a given network or platform. Let's break this down a bit further. On one hand, we have identity. This is all about confirming that you are who you say you are. It's like showing your ID at the door of a club. In the digital sphere, this process is known as authentication. This might involve entering a username and password, providing biometric data, or even responding to a prompt on your mobile device. The goal is the same: to ensure that the person trying to gain access is indeed the rightful user. On the other hand, we have access. Once your identity is verified, the system needs to decide what you can and can't do. This is called authorization. For instance, an employee might have access to a company's internal documents, but not to its financial records. A student can access their course materials, but not the grading system. Then we have user management. This is the process of creating, updating, and managing user profiles and access rights. It's a way of keeping track of who has access to what, and ensuring that the right people have the right levels of access. Lastly, there's security auditing. This is like the CCTV of the cyber world. It's about monitoring and recording user activities within a system. If something goes wrong, if there's a security breach, the audit logs can help identify what happened, when it happened, and who was involved. So, in a nutshell, identity and access services are about verifying identities, managing access, and keeping an eye on user activities. They're like the bouncers, managers, and security cameras of the digital world, working tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure that our digital interactions are secure and trustworthy. In essence, identity and access services form the backbone of a secure digital environment. You may wonder, why do these services hold such importance in cybersecurity? Let's delve into it. In this digital age, cybercrime is no longer just a buzzword. It's a reality that poses a significant threat to individuals and organizations alike. We're talking about crimes like identity theft, data breaches, and phishing attacks, which have been increasing exponentially year after year. Now imagine a world where anyone could access your personal emails, bank accounts, or confidential business data. Not a pleasant thought, is it? That's where identity and access services come into play. These services act like the gatekeepers of the digital world, ensuring that only authorized individuals can access specific resources. Think about it this way. Identity and access services are like the bouncers at the door of a private club. They check your identification, verify you're on the list, and only then do they let you in. This way, they prevent unauthorized access, protecting valuable data from falling into the wrong hands. But the role of identity and access services isn't limited to just security. They are also critical in ensuring compliance with data privacy laws. Around the world, regulations like the General Data Protection Regulation in Europe or the California Consumer Privacy Act in the United States mandate strict data privacy measures. These laws require businesses to protect user data, and failure to comply can result in hefty fines. Identity and access services help businesses meet these regulations by controlling who has access to sensitive data and tracking how it's used. In essence, these services are the unsung heroes of cybersecurity. They work behind the scenes, maintaining the integrity and confidentiality of our digital identities and resources. Without them, our online world would be a lot less secure and a lot more chaotic. And so, we come to realize that without identity and access services, our digital identities are like open books, waiting to be read by anyone with ill intentions. As we wrap up our discussion, let's distill the essence of what we've learned about identity and access services. These services are the gatekeepers in the realm of cybersecurity, controlling who gets in, who doesn't, and what they can do once they're inside. In the simplest terms, identity and access services is like a high-tech bouncer for a virtual nightclub. Imagine a bustling nightclub, full to the brim, with people enjoying themselves. Now consider the bouncer at the entrance, meticulously checking IDs and managing guest lists. That's what identity and access services do in the digital world. They verify who you are, identity, and what you're allowed to do, access. We've also uncovered that these services are not a monolithic entity, but rather a blend of several key components. These include identification, where users claim their identity, and authentication, where these claims are verified. Following that, there's authorization, which determines what resources a verified user can access. Lastly, there's accountability, which keeps track of what users do within the system. But why do these services matter so much in cybersecurity? Well, think about the number of cyber threats we face today. From data breaches to ransomware attacks, the digital world can be a dangerous place. And the first step in combating these threats is knowing exactly who is trying to gain access to our systems. By controlling access, we can ensure that only the right people have the right permissions. To put it in perspective, imagine a castle under siege. The castle's defenses are its walls, moats, and guards, but the first line of defense is always the gate. If the gate is robust and well guarded, it becomes incredibly difficult for invaders to penetrate the castle. Similarly, identity and access services are the gate of our digital castle, keeping unwanted visitors at bay. Remember, in the digital world, identity and access services are our first line of defense against cyber threats. Protecting our identities is no longer just about privacy, it's about security.